Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. In today's short video we will cover what is probably the biggest change in the history of HOI4. Something that will completely reshape the meta both in single player and in multiplayer. If that sounds interesting, you're in the right place. As always, if you enjoy the content I make, please do not forget to support the channel by liking the video, subscribing and leaving a comment, it really helps. And now, let's get started. So in the latest developer's diary, you can find a link in the description, Paradox announced a complete rework of the Doctrine system. This will be part of the free update coming alongside the new DLC, No Compromise, No Surrender. So what we are checking out today will be the new default Doctrine system for everyone. And the first major change, as you can see here, is that we will have Grand Doctrines and Subdoctrines. So at the beginning of your run, unless you already start with one, you will be asked to select one of the 4 Grand Doctrines. And these will look familiar, they remain the same. So we have Mobile Warfare, Superior Firepower, Grand Battle Plan and Mass Assault. That being said, their buffs will be changed, so we'll need to keep an eye on that. It is also worth mentioning that while this video and this developer's diary focuses on land doctrines, the same new system will also apply to air and navy doctrines. Either way, after selecting one of the grand doctrines, we will unlock a series of trucks. We can see them a little bit better down here. So a series of trucks related to what they call the subdoctrines. And as you can see here, each subdoctrine truck is connected to certain unit types. So as you can see, we have infantry, we have artillery and combat support, we have armor, and we have operations. For each truck, we will have access to various subdoctrines. And this seems to offer great variety. As you can see here, just for infantry, we have as many as 8 subdoctrines to choose from. Now, although we cannot see the exact details here, we can imagine already that this will be focused on specific units. So, for example, you can see mounted infantry, there is a horseman and an elephant in the back, so be ready for the new horseman meta. You can also see irregulars, which will likely buff militias and such, and so on. Now, the fact that these subdoctrines are tied to specific units is not irrelevant, because while so far, both to pick our Grand Doctrine and to pick our subdoctrines, we have been spending the usual generic army experience, we are now introducing a new concept, the concept of mastery. After selecting a subdoctrine to unlock its perks, we will need to reach a certain level of mastery. But how do we get mastery? As you can see here, the primary way is to include units in combat directly. Now you can also gain smaller amounts through unit training, military attaches, and through faction sharing. And here is a very critical and potentially controversial point, as it seems that the amount of mastery we gain primarily depends on the deployed manpower in combat. Now they say here that there will be diminishing returns to mastery gain after a certain amount of deployed manpower to make sure that minor nations or nations with smaller armies do not get left behind completely. That said, I'm not going to lie, this is quite scary. Not only this might give a huge advantage to majors over minors, but it might also favor quantity armies over quality armies. So I can imagine large infantry armies gaining way more mastery than specialized armored divisions. But let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet, we will need to wait and see how this is actually implemented. Now, unlocking additional perks down the subdoctrines of course offers additional buffs to those units. But that's not the only advantage. You also get to unlock milestones. These are unlocked once you complete entirely all of the perks for each subdoctrine. The way these milestones work is that they will buff directly your Grand Doctrine, the first one you picked at the beginning. So to get the full benefits out of your Grand Doctrine, you will also need to complete the mastery for all of its subdoctrines. Finally, Officer Corps will also be affected by these, so we will get a new window to give us a representation of our mastery level and doctrines unlocked. This icon honestly is a bit confusing, but we will see. And army spirits will also be reworked in order to remain tied as they are now to specific doctrines, so they will be unlocked by completing certain sub-doctrines. And that's all for now, but before we end the video, let me share a couple of considerations. Overall, I must say that I welcome this change. As I mentioned in past videos, it was time for Paradox to stop adding new features we didn't need more raids or special projects, and focus on reworking, renovating old features instead. And that's exactly what they did with Doctrines. There is no denying that this is a very big change. Doctrines are incredibly important, and such a massive rework will likely change completely the meta in both single player and multiplayer. Will change the best divisions and the divisions we want to rush. But if you ask me, that's a welcome and much needed change. Compared to before, it also looks like we will have a lot more options and variety when it comes to Grand Doctrines and Sub-Doctrines peaks, which is indeed a good thing. At the same time, it is important to mention that with the new system, changing your Grand Doctrine will completely wipe your progress entirely. All of the milestones and all of the Sub-Doctrines, which makes it basically impossible to do so after a certain point in the game. Now, it is already fairly expensive to change your doctrines with the current system, but that's something that from time to time in certain situations you may want to do. For example, right now, Grand Battle Plan has a great defensive bonus, entrenchment bonus when you start, so it's good for defensive operations, but you can later on switch to more offensive doctrines without losing much. With this new system, something like that looks like it might be impossible. But again, we will need to wait and see. So that's my take on it, but now I'm very curious to hear your opinion. Do you guys like this change? Is this what HOI4 needed? And which new feature are you most excited about? Make sure to let me know in the comments. And guys, as always, if you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to support the channel by liking the video, subscribing and leaving a comment. It really helps the channel grow faster. Other than that, thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys very soon in the next video. Bye bye!